Okay, so today I'll be going through the Maha Bodhi 2024 end of year examinations for P5, paper 1. So let's begin. Okay, question 1. What is 69,012 in numerals? So for this, I'll write down the 69. And then by right, there are 3 zeros behind, right? But for this, there's still 12. So in the hundreds place, it's 0. The tens place is 1. And then the ones place will be 2 for the 12. So your answer will be option 2. Question 2. Which of the following has the same value as 8,400 divided by 60? So for this one, the 8,400 will still remain. And then for the divide by 60, I have to split it. Okay, so this divide by 60, I can either split it into divide by 3, divide by 20, or you can change it to divide by 20, divide by 3. Okay, because 20 times 3 is 60, 3 times 20 is also 60. So based on your option, they are looking for this one. So your answer will be option 3. Okay, question 3, simplify the following expression. So for question 3, you need to know your order of operations. So based on this, we need to do the one in the brackets first. So the 72, then divide by 12 minus 8 will be 4. The rest we just copy down. Okay, so here you have division and multiplication. So if they are the same priority, we have to do left to right. So I'll do 72 divided by 4 first. That will be 18. Then the rest will just be the same. So now we have multiplication and addition, right? We have to do multiplication first, which will give us 54, and then plus 6. So our final answer will be 60. The answer is option 3. Question 4, write down 4 out of 25 as a decimal. So for questions like that, first thing you look at the denominator, see whether we can change it into 10, 100, or 1000. So for 25, we can multiply by 4 to become 100. So we do the same for the numerator. We will get 16 out of 100. Okay, so anything out of 100, it will be 2 decimal place. So it will just be 0.16. Okay, so our answer for this question 4 will be option 2. Okay, let's move on. So question 5, in the number 7.568, which digit is in the tens place? So the tens place is actually the first decimal place, which is here. Okay, so this one is in the first decimal place, so your answer will be option 1. So for question 6, find the area of the shaded triangle. So the shaded triangle is over here. So for triangle, the formula is half times base. The base of this triangle is 4. Okay, and then the height will be the perpendicular height. So for this, we have to extend outwards. This is the height. Okay, so half times 4 times 9 will give us 18. So your answer will be option 1. Okay, then I move on to the next question. Question 7, the figure is made out of 20 identical triangles. What percentage of the figure is shaded? Take note, if they're asking for percentage, right, what you always have to do is you have to write down a fraction times 100%. Okay, then you can get your answer. So we need to determine what are we going to write down for the fraction. The question is asking what percentage of the figure is shaded. So for the numerator, let's count how many triangles are shaded. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 out of. It's always the denominator will be the total number of triangles of the figure is 20 times 100% equals. So for this paper one, we cannot use calculator, right? So if we can, we need to simplify our fraction. So 4 and 20, right? We can simplify this one. Both divide by 4, we will get 1 out of 5. Okay, then this one we can simply just take numerator times numerator and then denominator times denominator. But take note, your diagonal you can also simplify. So 5 and 20, both you can divide by 5. So this one ends up with 1. 20 divided by 5 is 20. Okay, so 1 times 20 will give us 20. 1 times 1 is 1, so don't need to put the 1 anymore. So the answer will be 20%. So option 2. All right, so it's just a fraction times fraction. and then simplify it so that we can get our answer without the use of calculator. Okay, let's move on. Okay, question 8. A machine can print 3 posters in 2 minutes. At this rate, how many posters can it print in 18 minutes? So for this question, right, this 3 posters in 2 minutes, this is like a group. Okay, so this is a grouping question. Okay, so in one group, 3 posters, 2 minutes. Okay, wait, let me write down this properly. We have 3 posters in 2 minutes. Okay, so my first step for grouping will be one group. And then my second step, just let me write down all the groups. All the steps for grouping first. One group, then number of groups. And then one group again. And then how many groups, which I will find out in step 2. Okay. So first one, the one group, what do I put here in the one group? I must look at the other value given in the question, which is this 18 minutes in total. So you look at my one group, how many minutes is it? It's 2. So right here, 2. To find out number of groups, I will take the total number divided by the one group. So it will be 18 divided by 2 will give me 9. Okay, so there will be 9 groups. Let me write down this again. 18, which is the total, divided by the one group, 2 minutes, I will get 9 groups. Okay, then I go back to read the question. How many posters can it print in 18 minutes, right? So they're asking for how many posters. I look at my one group. I can have 3 posters, okay, in one group. So I write down one group equals to 3. So in step 2, I found out there are 9 groups. Like that. So I'll fill out this. So if one group there are 3 posters, 9 groups will simply be 9 times 3. Our answer will be 27 posters. So the answer is option 4. Okay, so this is just a typical grouping question. Okay, question 9. Jamie had 200 green and yellow marbles. 40% of the marbles are green. How many green marbles did he have? So total is 200. 40% are green. So to find the green marbles is 40%, right? So 40% I'll write it as 40 out of 100. Of 200, the of, you change it to a times. Then the 200, just leave it like that. Okay, so same thing. What I will do is I will change this into a fraction as well. Okay, then I will simplify the fractions before I do the calculation. So diagonally, right, you see this is 200 and this 100. Both can be divided by 100. This will become 1. This will become 2. Okay, then I will take the numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. 40 times 2 will give me 80. 1 times 1 is just 1, so no need to write the over 1 already. So for this, the answer will be 80, option 3. Okay, let's move on. Question 10, we have a solid cuboid of height 10 cm has a square base of side 6 cm. Find its volume. So remember, for volume, right, it will just be length times breadth times height equals to volume. So since this cuboid here has a square base, it means the length and the breadth will both be 6 cm. Okay, that's why they only give us one side for the square base. So this one will just be 6 times the breadth is 6, the height will be 10. So 6 times 6 will give us 36. 36 times 10 will give us 360. So our answer will be option 3. Okay, let's move on. Question 11. In the figure, AOC and BOD are straight lines. Find angle ODC. So first thing first, we look at this angle. This one here, angle DOC. This one is an X shape, right? So opposite angles, they are equal. So angle DOC is also 75 degrees. Okay, I'll label it here as well. So now I can find my angle ODC already because this shape here is a triangle. The angles in a triangle is always 180. So since I have two of the angles, I can just take 180 minus these two angles. I'll get the last angle, which is what the question is looking for. So angle ODC will be 180 degrees minus my 75 degrees minus 59 degrees. Okay, this one you do your working, okay? And then you will get your answer 46 degrees. So the answer will be option 1. So this one should be pretty straightforward. Okay, then we can move on. Question 12. The figure below is formed by cutting a rectangle from a square. Find the perimeter of the figure. So your rectangle is this one, and then your square is the whole big one. Okay, so if the outer bigger one is a square, meaning all the sides is 25. So this is also 25 cm. This is also 25 cm. Okay, if you want to look for the perimeter of the figure, these three sides here are all 25. And then I have to look for the remaining lines here to find the total perimeter, right? Take note, this line here, and this line here, okay, even though these two, I do not know the individual length, but I know that these three lines will also add up to 25 cm, okay? And then which lines haven't I counted? I haven't counted this one here and this one here, right? So this one is 15, meaning the opposite side will also be 15 cm. Okay, so here to here is also 15 cm. Meaning if I want to find the total perimeter, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 25, and 2, 15 cm. Okay, so the total perimeter will just be 4 times 25 plus 2 times 15. Okay, so that 4 times 25 will give me 100, 2 times 15 will give me 30. So the final answer will be 130 cm, which is option 4. Okay, then with this, let's move on. Okay, question 13 is a ratio question, which is not in the syllabus, so I will skip it. Okay, then we look at question 14, okay? In the number line, what is likely to be the value of A when rounded to the nearest two decimal places? Okay, first thing first, right? We look at from 7 to 8. We count how many intervals are there first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let me write down 8 intervals is equals to how much? You have to find the difference between 8 and 7. So it's 8 minus 7, it's 1. Okay, so 8 intervals is 1. We always have to find one interval. So I'll take 1 divided by 8. So division, remember, is you can just write it as a fraction first, okay? Because we're not exactly looking for one interval. So I'll just leave it as 1 out of 8. So A here is the closest to this line here. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intervals first. So one interval is 1 out of 8. 5 intervals will be 5 times 1 out of 8 will give us 5 out of 8. Okay, you look at all this here, we are looking for like decimals. So I have to find how much is 5 out of 8. I have to do long division. 5 out of 8 is just the same as 5 divided by 8. So 5 cannot divide by 8, right? So I'll continue and then here. So I have to continue by making a 0. So it's on decimal. Bring the 0 down. So now it's 50 divided by 8. Okay, that would be 6. And then it will be 48. Okay, 50 minus 48. 10 minus 8 is 2. So this one here is only one decimal place. If the question is asking you for nearest two decimal places, we have to at least be one more decimal place more than what is required. So I will calculate up to 3 decimal places. Okay, so with that means I have to continue bringing down more zeros. So now it's 20 divided by 8. I can have 2. Okay, which means it's 16. 20 minus 16 be 4. Okay, means I have to bring down another 0. Okay, then 40 divided by 8 will give me 5. Okay, so that's the end of this. So it will be 0.625. But remember, this is 5 intervals. I have to add 7. Okay, plus 625, 7.625. Meaning at this line here, this value here, exactly at this 5th interval, is 7.625. But you look at A. A is smaller, slightly smaller than this 7.625, right? So meaning it is most likely 7.624 something. Okay, if I take 7.624 something, I round off to nearest 2 decimal places. Okay, meaning I have to look at the 3rd decimal place, right? 4, I have to round down. So meaning if I round down to the nearest 2 decimal places, it will be 7.62. So the answer will be option 3. Okay, there's no way that if I round off, it will be 7.63 because this A is smaller than 7.625. Okay, so this is the answer for question 14. Okay, moving on. Okay, each of the pupils in 5 kindness voted one activity as their favorite hobby. The bar graph below shows the results. Okay, so here you have the different favorite hobbies and then the number of pupils. But take note here, there's no scale, there's no numbers on the scale here. So we have to determine based on the units, right? So for reading, for boys, it'll be 3 units. Each interval represents 1 unit, okay? And then for the girls, also 3 units. And then for playing games, it's 4 units for the boys and 2 units for the girls. Okay, for playing sports, it's 2 units for the boys and 1 unit for the girls. And then for listening to music, is 1 unit for the boys and 2 units for the girls. Okay, so with this, let's look at the statements below to see which one is true. So the question says, how of the boys in the class likes reading? So first thing first, we have to find the total number of units of boys. So it will be 3U plus my 4U plus my 2U plus my 1U. Okay, let me just label this as total. This total boys, okay? So that we know what we're looking for. Total boys. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So total boys is 10 units. Okay, so if I want to find half of the boys, I take 10 units, divide by 2 equals to 5 units. So 5 units is half the boys, right? So let's go and look at reading. Reading, boys only 3 units, okay, which is not 5 units. So this is not true. Okay, and then we move on to option 2. There's an equal number of boys and girls in the class. So I found the total boys is 10 units. Let me look at the girls. So total girls, okay, hold on. Let me just clear my, okay, total girls will be 3 units plus 2 units plus 1 unit plus 2 units. Okay, that will give me a total 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6, then 8 units, okay? So my boys is 10 units, and then my girls is 8 units, so they are not equal. So option 2 also incorrect. So option 3, the most popular hobby for the class is playing games. Okay, so we have to look at the total for each hobby and see whether is it playing games. So the total for reading, 3 plus 3 is 6 units. Okay, 4 plus 2 is 6 units. 2 plus 1 is 3 units. And 1 plus 2 is 3 units. So if I say that the most popular hobby is playing games is 6 units. However, reading is also 6 units. Okay, meaning playing game is not the most popular hobby. So this is also false. And then option 4, an equal number of pupils in the class like playing sports and listening to music. So playing sports is 3 units, listening to music is also 3 units, so it's equal. So option 4 is true. So my answer will be option 4. Okay, so let's move on. And then now we are moving on to booklet B already. Question 1, find the value of 1/3 plus 2/5. So 1/3 plus 2/5. Okay, so remember when adding fractions, you have to make the denominator the same. So 3 and 5, the common denominator will be 15. So this one will be times 5. Okay, never mind. Just need to know that if I want to make both 15, I have to times 5, right? So it's 5 out of 15. And then to make 5 15, you have to times 3 times 3. So 2 times 3 will give me 6 out of 15. So my answer, 5 out of 15 plus 6 out of 15 will give us 11 out of 15. So that's the answer for question 16. Moving on, question 17, find the value of 5 out of 6 times half. So 5 out of 6 times half. So when you're multiplying fractions, make sure your fraction you can simplify and diagonal can simplify, also go ahead. Okay, so for this it's already simplest form already. So I'll just take numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So 5 times 1 will give me 5, 6 times 2 will give me 12. Okay, and that's our answer, 5 out of 12. Question 18, find the value of 7 divided by 35. So remember, 7 divided by 35 just simply means 7 out of 35. Divide and out of is the same thing. Okay, so with that, you can give into the simplest form. 7 and 35, both you can divide by 7. So 7 divided by 7 will give me 1. 35 divided by 7 will give me 5. So our answer for question 18 will be 1 out of 5. All right. Okay, let's move on. Okay, question 19, find the value of 30.3 times 300. So for this, I will split the 300 into times 3, then times 100. Okay, so for 30.3 times 3, this one I can just show you the working here, a quick one. Okay, just take note, this whole paper cannot use your calculator as well. So 3 times 3 will give you 9. Okay, and then put a decimal place here. 0.3 will be 0, 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so it's 90.9 times 100. So anything that you times 100, right, you can simply just shift the decimal place 2 positions to the right. So like this and another one. Okay, so the decimal place will become somewhere here. So that will be 9090. Okay, please take note, there's a 0 here underneath this arrow here. Okay, so your answer is 9090. Okay, for question 20, in triangle ACD, this triangle here, where the base is AD, okay, so they are saying if this is the base, which is the corresponding height. Okay, take note, the height must always be perpendicular to your base and then it touches the opposite vertex. So this is the opposite one, right? And then it touches your base, right angle to your base, so your height will be CE, okay, or EC, both acceptable, okay? All right, so with that, let's move on to the next question. The mass of a bag of rice is measured using the scale. What is the mass of the bag of rice? So here you have your weighing scale, right? So this one, first thing first, we need to know one interval is how much. Okay, so I have from 0 to 1, I have 5 intervals. Okay, it's 1 kg. Okay, and then, so one interval will be 1 divided by 5. Okay, 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. Okay? Because you can do your long division, you will get 0.2. And then this one here is 2 intervals after 4. So I'll find 2 intervals. I simply take 2 times 0.2 will be 0.4. Then I take 0.4 plus my 4, right? So it will just be 4.4 kg. Okay? Then now is in grams, meaning I have to convert 4.4 kg into how many grams, right? So take note now, 1 kg, that's 1,000 grams. So if I want to convert 4.4 kg, I also need to times 1,000. Okay, so for 4.4, right, just that you take a look here. I times 1,000 means I actually move the decimal place 3 positions to the right. So 1, 2, then 3. So your decimal place will end up somewhere here, right? So you have 1 0 here and 1 0 here, another, so it'll be 2 zeros. So your answer will be 4,400 grams. Okay, so multiply by 1,000. Okay, let me clear my drawings and we can move on to the next question. Okay, question 22. The table below shows the temperature of cities W, X, Y, Z. So you have the cities here, and then this column here is the lowest temperature, this column here is the highest temperature. So part A, when Albert was at some of the cities, the temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. Name the cities. Name the cities means there's more than one answer. Okay? So if your temperature is 10 degrees Celsius, so let's look at this one. The lowest is 9, highest is 16. Yes, 10 degrees Celsius is in between. Okay, so city W is an answer. And then for city X, the lowest is 15. Okay, the highest is 32. 10 degrees is lower than degrees Celsius is lower than 15 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this one, X is not the answer. Then I look at city Y. The lowest temperature is 18 degrees Celsius. The highest temperature is 33 degrees Celsius. 10 degrees Celsius is below the lowest temperature, so also not in city Y. Okay, then let's look at city Z. The lowest temperature is 4 degrees Celsius. The highest temperature is 24 degrees Celsius. Yes, 10 degrees Celsius is within the range of the temperature of city Z. So your answer for part A will be city W and city Z. And part B, name the city with the smallest difference in temperatures. Find its difference. Okay, so this one first, you have 2 lines to fill out. First one, you must name the city with the smallest difference, and then we have to find the difference. So for this one, we have to find the difference for each city, and then identify the one with the smallest difference. Okay, so let's do for W first. For W, you always take the bigger one minus the smaller one. So it's 16 minus 9, we will get the difference of 7 degrees Celsius. Okay, next, city X, you take 32 minus 15, we will get a difference of 17 degrees Celsius. For city Y, you take 33 minus 18, we will get 15 degrees Celsius. And then for city Z, it will be 24 minus 4. That will give us 20 degrees Celsius. So the one with the smallest difference will be city W, okay, with a difference of 7 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this question actually, when you read properly, is pretty straightforward. Okay, let me clear. And then we will move on to question 23. Okay, here, name the smallest angle. So if you actually look at it by observation, it will be angle E. If you're unsure which one is the smallest out of the 5 angles, right, please use your protractor, okay, to help you identify which one is the smallest one. Okay, then next, part B, name the 2 angles that are greater than 90 degrees. So for this, you can either use your protractor or you can use the corner of your ruler or set square, okay, put at each angle. The 2 angles that are greater than 90 degrees is angle A and angle D. Okay, question 24. Write down the first 2 common multiples of 6 and 9. So meaning for this question, I will list down the multiple of 6 and then also the multiple of 9. Okay, so 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Next for 9 is 9, 18, 27. Actually, I've identified my first common multiple already, which is 18. Okay, for the second one, you do not need to list down to find the second one. You simply just take 2 times 18 because they want the second common multiple. So 2 times 18 will give you 36. So the first one is 18, the second one is 36. In the event, if they want the third one, it will be 3 times 18. If the fourth one will be 4 times 18. Okay, so do not need to keep listing down to find the subsequent ones after the first common multiple. All right, question 25 is an average question, so we will skip to question 25. Then we move on to question 26. Four numbers are given below, which is the largest and which is the smallest. Okay, so for this kind of comparison question, the best is to give all of them in the same form. Okay, in this case is to give them to 3 decimal places for each one. So this one, 3 decimal places, I'll just write it as 180 for easy comparison. Next, for this 2, 1 out of 8, okay, so same thing. I need to see whether I can change this denominator into 10, 100, or 1000. So 8 I actually can multiply by 125, okay, to give me 1000. So I do the same to the numerator. I'll get 125 out of 1000. So when the fraction denominator is 1000 means you write it into 3 decimal places. So it'll be 2.125. Okay, the 125 will just be written like that. So 2.125 is the first one. And then next one here, 4/5. Okay, same thing. You look at the denominator, see whether you can change it to 10, 100, or 1000. So for 5, I can change it to 10 by multiplying by 2. The numerator I'll multiply by 2 as well. I'll get 8 out of 10. When the denominator of the fraction is 10, means my answer I'll write it to 1 decimal place, which means 2.8. Okay, and then since actually I want to write all of them to 3 decimal places, I can simply just add 2 more zeros behind. So it'll be 2.800, just to be fair across all the numbers. So if I want to see which one is the largest, since it's all 2, right? I'll just look at the 3 decimal places behind. This is 125, this is 800, this is 180, and this is 108. The largest one will be this 2.800. Okay, but remember, please write down your original fraction given. So it's 2, 4 out of 5. For the smallest one will be this 2.108. This one is already the original form, so I just write down 2.108. Okay? Okay, question 27. Singapore Airlines flight SQ5870 took off from Singapore at 23:25 and landed in Beijing at 05:30 the next day. Okay, what is the flight duration? Give your answer in hours and minutes. So this one, I will draw my timeline. Okay, I took off from Singapore at 23:25. Okay, and then I landed in Beijing at 05:30. Okay, so this one you're gonna cross the day because it's gonna go to 000 of the next day first. This 05:30 is also next day timing. Okay, so let me just write here. Okay, from 23:25 to 0000 the next day, okay, is actually just 35 minutes. Okay, because 0000 is also 24:00. Okay, so it's just 35 minutes away. And then from 00:00 to 05:30 is simply just 5 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, so I just need to find the total duration. I will take 5 hours and 30 minutes plus my 35 minutes. Okay, I will get 5 hours and 65 minutes. Okay, but this 65 minutes, obviously, I cannot leave in this form. Okay, because the 60 minutes is actually 1 hour, so I can take out the 60 minutes to give another hour, so it'll be 6 hours, left with 5 minutes. Okay, so my answer for question 27 will be 6 hours, 5 minutes. Okay, question 28. In the figure below, what is the least number of additional squares that must be shaded to make AB a line of symmetry? So my AB is over here. So I just look at the left side and right hand side of my AB to see which squares I need to shade. Okay, so for this one here, I have one more square shaded here. So this one here I also need to shade in order to be symmetrical. Then next one, I have one shaded square here. So it's two squares from the AB, right? So meaning 1, 2. This one I also have to shade. All right. Then I move on to my next shaded one. Okay, will be, you see here, there's a shaded square here, right? So it's actually 1.5 squares away from the line of symmetry. Meaning this one here also 1.5 squares away. This one also needs to be shaded. Okay, wait, this one I get rid of this first. Okay, then I move on to this one here. So this one here is shaded already. So these two are shaded, so they're symmetrical. This one here is 2 squares from the line of symmetry. Okay, meaning this one, 2. This one also needs to be shaded in order to be symmetrical to this one. And then you see this one is shaded is 3 squares away from the line of symmetry. And then this one also 3 squares away. So these two are symmetrical already. All right. And then next is this one shaded. This is 2 squares away from the line of symmetry. This is also 2 squares away from the line of symmetry, meaning this 2 is already symmetrical, so no need to shade further. And then left with this last one here. This is 1 square away from the line of symmetry, meaning this one here, 1 square away, I also have to shade. So I actually have to shade how many more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more squares. So that's the answer for question 28. Okay, so just base it upon the line of symmetry and then compare every one that is shaded to see which one do you have to shade on the other side of the line of symmetry. In question 29, a farmer packed 56 apples into bags and 72 pears into boxes. Each bag contained the same number of apples and each box contained the same number of pears with no fruits left over. He used an equal number of bags and boxes for both fruits. What is the least possible number of apples in each bag? So for this question, you are splitting 56 apples into bags and 72 pears into boxes. They tell you each box and each bag and each box has the same number of apples and same number of pears respectively. And then there's also equal number of bags and boxes. So since you're splitting 56 and 72, for this question, we have to write down we have to find the factors for 56 and 72. And then find the common factor. Okay, so for 56, it will be 1 times 56. And then 2 times 28. Okay, 3, it's not a factor for 56. Then I'll move on to 4 times 14. Okay, 5 is not, 6 is also not a factor of 56. Then we'll move on to 7 times 8. Okay, then 8 is over here already. So that's all for 56. Okay, then we find for 72, we'll start off with 1 times 72. 2 times 36. Okay, and then for 3 is 3 times 24. 4 times 18. Okay, 5 is not a factor for 72. Then we move on to 6 times 12. Okay, 7 is also not a factor of 72. Then we move on to 8 times 9. Okay, so 9 is over here. So that's all for the factors for 72. All right, so as I was saying, this one here, right, they need to have equal number of apples in each bag and equal number of pears in each box. And then they need to have equal number of bags and boxes. Okay, so we are finding for the common factor. Here they want you to write down the least possible number of apples in each bag. So in order to have least possible number of apples, right, in each bag, meaning we have to find the largest equal number of bags and boxes. Okay, because if you want to find the smallest possible of apples in one bag, meaning the number of bags and boxes must be the largest. okay? And then they have to be equal, which is actually the common factor. You are to find the largest common factor between 56 and 72, okay? And we look through, it will be 8. Okay, so 8 is the largest common factor of 56 and 72. So this means there's 8 bags of apples, and this is 8 boxes of pears. All right. The question is asking you what is the least possible number of apples. So this is for the apples, right? Since I have 8 bags of apples, meaning in one bag, I'll have 7 apples. So my answer is 7. Okay, I repeat, in order to have the least possible, you want to find the least possible number of apples in one bag. Your number of bags and boxes have to be the largest. Okay, so your common factor, 8 and 8 represent 8 bags and 8 boxes, meaning one bag has 7 apples. So that's for question 29. With this, let's move on to the last question of paper 1. Question 30. The table below shows the parking charges in a mall. Mrs. Chan paid $5.70 for her parking fees on a weekday morning. What was the longest possible duration she had parked in the mall? So this Mrs. Chan, she parked on a weekday morning, meaning if you're looking at this, weekday morning is this category here. Okay, for the first 2 hours is $3.30. She paid $5.70. So meaning she definitely parked more than 2 hours. So what I'll do, I'll take the total that she paid, subtract the $3.30 first, which will give me $2.40. Okay, then you look at this table. It tells us that for every 30 minutes or part thereof is 80 cents. So I want to find out how many 80 cents are there in $2.40. So what I will do, I will take $2.40, divide by 80 cents to know how many sets of 80 cents are there in 240. We will get 3. Okay, so for every 80 cents is actually the maximum, because longest duration means maximum. She can park up to 30 minutes. Okay, so since this question is asking in hours, I will actually convert the 30 minutes into hours first. So 30 minutes is half an hour, which is 0.5 hours. Okay, so how long did Mrs. Chan actually park, right? The first 2 hours, so I'll just pick 2 hours. And then we know that she had 3 blocks of 80 cents, means 3 blocks of half an hour. So I will add 3 times the half an hour. Okay, so 2 hours plus 3 times 0.5 will give me 1.5 hours. Okay, then I take 2 hours plus 1.5 hours will just be 3.5 hours. Okay, so my final answer will be 3.5 hours. Okay, so I've come to the end of this session. Thank you.